Hey everyone, RDC Concrete and Sato Kogyo is a significant case in Singapore contract law that deals with breach of contract and the right to terminate a contract when performance repeatedly fails. The case arose from a dispute between RDC Concrete, a supplier of ready-mixed concrete, and Sato Kogyo, a contractor engaged by the Land Transport Authority to construct an MRT station. RDC was responsible for supplying concrete to Sato Kogyo under a contract, but multiple problems arose that led to the contract termination and litigation. Sato Kogyo's main issue with RDC's performance was that the concrete supplied did not meet LTA's required strength standards. Due to multiple failed strength tests, the LTA instructed Sato Kogyo to suspend RDC's supply. During this suspension, Sato Kogyo had to procure concrete from an alternative supplier, Pan United, at a higher cost. After the suspension was lifted, RDC was permitted to resume supply, but its performance did not improve. On at least 42 occasions, RDC failed to deliver the concrete as ordered, citing reasons such as shortages of raw materials like cement and aggregates and unforeseen plant breakdowns. Frustrated by these repeated failures, Sato Kogyo deducted the additional costs it had incurred from the payments due to RDC. In response, RDC stopped supply entirely, prompting Sato Kogyo to terminate the contract and file a lawsuit for breach of contract. The key legal question before the court was whether RDC's repeated failures to supply concrete amounted to a fundamental breach of contract, thereby justifying termination by Sato Kogyo. The court had to determine whether Sato Kogyo was legally entitled to terminate the contract due to RDC's non-performance and whether RDC could rely on the contract's force majeure clause to excuse its failure to deliver. The Court of Appeal held that RDC's failures constituted a repudiatory breach. The contract required RDC to supply concrete continuously, and its repeated inability to do so deprived Sato Kogyo of the main benefits of the contract. Even though RDC did not entirely abandon its obligations, its persistent failures had the effect of making performance unreliable and uncertain, disrupting the construction schedule. The court emphasized that in contract law, a single breach may not always justify termination, but when breaches accumulate to the extent that they prevent the other party from benefiting from the contract, the innocent party may rightfully terminate the contract. The court also ruled that Sato Kogyo was entitled to terminate the contract on two grounds. First, RDC had failed to supply concrete that met LTA's requirements. Compliance with these standards was a contractual obligation, and since RDC could not meet them, it had fundamentally failed in its duties. Second, the sheer frequency of RDC's failures over time amounted to non-performance, which went to the root of the contract. Sato Kogyo could not afford to continue dealing with an unreliable supplier, especially for a large-scale public project where delays had significant consequences. RDC attempted to rely on the force majeure clause in the contract to escape liability, arguing that its failure to deliver was caused by events beyond its control, such as raw materials shortages and plant breakdowns. The court rejected this defense, stating that RDC had not sufficiently proven that these issues were truly unavoidable. The force majeure clause required RDC to show that it had taken all reasonable steps to prevent or mitigate the problem. But RDC did not provide clear evidence that it had made efforts to source materials from alternative suppliers. The Court of Appeal emphasized that force majeure is not an automatic escape from liability. Parties invoking it must demonstrate that the situation was beyond their control and that they took reasonable steps to overcome it. The Court of Appeal ultimately ruled in favor of Sato Kogyo, concluding that RDC had fundamentally breached the contract through its repeated failures. Sato Kogyo was justified in terminating the agreement and could claim damages for the additional costs it incurred due to RDC's non-performance. This case serves as a crucial reminder that contracts must be honored in good faith and that repeated non-performance can amount to repudiation, giving the innocent party the right to walk away. This case also highlights three key lessons in contract law. First, repeated breaches, even if minor on their own, can accumulate to justify termination if they substantially deprive the other party of the contract's benefits. Second, force majeure cannot be used as an excuse for poor management or planning. A party invoking force majeure must show that it genuinely had no control over the situation and did everything possible to remedy it. Third, termination of a contract must be justified. If a party ends a contract without sufficient grounds, it risks being liable for wrongful termination. However, where a party continuously fails to perform its obligations, the law recognizes that holding onto the contract may cause more harm than good. Beyond the legal implications, this case also offers a deeper reflection on expectations and impermanence. Business relationships, like all things, are subject to change and uncertainty. Rigidly clinging to expectations in a contractual relationship can lead to disappointment, frustration, or even financial loss. Those who understand the transient nature of circumstances and adapt accordingly can navigate challenges more effectively. The true lesson is not just about contract law, but also about understanding when to hold on and when to let go. Thanks for joining me in this case summary. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.